Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
President-elect Joe Biden says he's focusing on getting 100 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine within the first 100 days of his administration. This as the pandemic is claiming thousands of lives each day, according to Johns Hopkins University. John Lawrence reports.
As the U.S. prepares for a new president to take office with a plan to attack the COVID-19 pandemic, the nation's death toll is nearing the 400,000 mark. The incoming director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the U.S. has some dark weeks ahead.
By the middle of February, we expect 500,000 deaths in this country. That doesn't speak to the tens of thousands of people who are living with a yet uncharacterized syndrome after they've recovered.
As vaccines slowly roll out, the U.S. is struggling to get the upper hand on the pandemic, especially in parts of California, where state officials say Los Angeles is the first county in the nation to report more than 1 million cases. Around 14,000 of those have died.
It feels like you're waking up to a nightmare every day. It's hard to imagine that many people passing away, and each one of those is a story. It's a family.
The CDC reports at least 88 cases of a highly contagious coronavirus variant, first identified in the UK, were confirmed in 14 states, and that the country has yet to see the full ramifications of spread caused by holiday travel.
It's going to take weeks, if not months, to do the setup things that are necessary. We're all going to have to be patient. I do think we'll get there, but it's going to be hard.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The vaccine rollout finally getting its own shot in the arm. Mass COVID vaccine clinics are now opening across the Twin Tiers. Big Fox News' Matt Kleindienst shows us how it's going.
Good evening. Vaccine sites are being set up across the state and are setting up appointments. However, several problems have arisen as people began signing up. Mass vaccination sites are preparing to distribute vaccines as more New Yorkers become eligible for their first dose. This includes the only site in the southern tier in Johnson City. However, when people went online to register, some experienced error messages that prevented them from making an appointment. Governor Cuomo highlighted on Friday failures at the federal level to increase the vaccine supply. Currently, over 7 million New Yorkers are qualified for the vaccine, and the state only receives about 300,000 doses per week. That means it could take up to 14 weeks to vaccinate all who are eligible. In response, Governor Cuomo issued a letter to the CEO of Pfizer asking to directly purchase the vaccine to fill the demand gap. As of this evening, if you go on the state's vaccine eligibility website, you will see that most sites do not have any appointments currently available through April 16th. However, according to the website, some appointments are still available at certain locations, including the Johnson City, New York site. So your best bet is to continue checking the website listed below to see if you're eligible to receive your first dose. Matt Kleindienst, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Elmira's Economic Opportunity Program celebrated the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with its Together We Dine community dinner. The 23rd annual dinner was turned into a drive-through where residents could stop by and pick up a packed dinner for their family. Anita Lewis says the event is a way to live out Dr. King's message by feeding those impacted by the pandemic.
COVID-19 does not pick. It's not picking certain people. So there are people, all different levels of people that cannot eat or having food insecurity, losing their jobs. And so for EOP, we want to feed people.
Lewis says more than 800 meals were given out throughout the day. EOP also provides curbside meals throughout the week. A week normally marked by pomp and circumstance, jubilant crowds, parades, and balls is instead beginning under the shadow of a crisis. Just 2 days away from the inauguration of Joe Biden, Washington, D.C. and capital cities around the country are under armed guard amid heightened security concerns. The pandemic and a looming impeachment trial also adding to the heavy atmosphere in the nation's capital. Nadia Ramiro is in Washington with the latest.
On a day meant to commemorate a civil rights icon, the city where Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a defining speech about racial harmony is in a state of emergency amid concerns of potential violence from domestic extremists.
We don't want to see fences. We definitely don't want to see armed troops on our streets, but we do have to take a different posture.
The coronavirus pandemic and siege of the U.S. Capitol leading to a marked change in Washington's inaugural tradition.
This will be an inaugural like no other, in large part because of COVID, but we are going to get sworn in, and we're going to do the job we were hired to do.
President-elect Joe Biden is striking an optimistic tone as he prepares to take on unprecedented challenges, from the pandemic to the economy to homegrown threats.
From day one, this campaign is about people coming together to heal our nation, overcoming the challenges we face, and to build America back, to build it back better for all Americans. And the inauguration is a reflection of that spirit.
While outgoing President Donald Trump faces an historic post-presidency impeachment trial in the U.S. Senate.
He sent an angry mob down the mall to attack a branch of government. Bipartisan opposition to what he did, and you're going to see it over in the Senate.
In the midst of tragedies brought on by the pandemic and political division, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle will now have to grapple with how to pull the country together.
It's imperative that we lead ourselves out of this, that we heal our nation.
In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
Police and businesses in New York City are taking precautions ahead of President-elect Biden's inauguration in Washington on Wednesday. It's all to protect against any possible violent protests. Sunday was the first day of an increased police presence in the Big Apple. There was a greater presence outside City Hall and at Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. The NYPD says they will have a robust presence at Trump-associated locations from Sunday through the inauguration. Meanwhile, some retail stores in Times Square have boarded up their windows.
I think that it's a good idea because of what happened at the Capitol.
A lot of people, they take advantage of what happens for their own benefit.
The NYPD says the precautions are not in response to specific intelligence or information, but are out of an abundance of caution. Manhattan's Trump Tower, the president's New York home, has been a fortress since he took office, but times are changing. Trump is leaving office Wednesday, and security is going to get scaled down at Trump Tower on posh Fifth Avenue. Security could loosen as early as this week. According to an NYPD official, that will start with a decreased police presence on Wednesday. Some streets around the high-rise have been blocked since Trump became president, and they'll likely be reopened. Plans for scaled-back security operations are still being coordinated with the Secret Service and other federal authorities. On his final full day in office, President Trump plans to issue around 100 pardons and commutations. That's according to 3 people familiar with the matter. The president will reportedly pardon white-collar criminals, high-profile rappers, and others on Tuesday. For now, the president is not expected to grant himself a pardon. On Sunday, the White House held a meeting to finalize the list of pardons. This is the last batch to be made, unless the president decides to grant pardons to controversial allies, members of his family, or himself. The pardons are one of the several items the president must complete before his presidency ends on Wednesday. It's normal to be nervous about COVID-19, but one guy's reaction is decidedly not normal. You see, this is where he's been living for the past 3 months, Chicago O'Hare International Airport. Aditya Singh arrived from Los Angeles in mid-October and told authorities he was too afraid to fly back to LA because of COVID-19. So the 36-year-old decided to stay at the airport inside the security zone until he was caught on Saturday. Apparently, 2 United Airlines employees confronted him and asked to see his work ID, which had been reported stolen by an airport operations manager. Now he's charged with felony criminal trespass to a restricted area of an airport and theft. Republicans are releasing documents related to the origins of the Russia collusion probe that has dominated the Trump administration throughout his time in the White House. We are learning new information about the so-called Steele dossier, which was the foundation document behind Operation Crossfire Hurricane. All of this coming less than 1 week before President Trump leaves office. Jillian Turner has the latest.
Chairman Graham says in the release, the FISA court was lied to. Exculpatory information was withheld on those being investigated. And the leadership of the FBI under Comey and McCabe was either grossly incompetent or they knowingly allowed tremendous misdeeds. There was a blind eye turned toward any explanation other than the Trump campaign was colluding with foreign powers. In these documents are interview transcripts from 11 government officials who worked on the Russia probe as it launched. Interviewees talk about Cambridge professor Stefan Halper, an FBI confidential source who was in contact with Trump campaign aides Carter Page and George Papadopoulos. One former DOJ intel official says this about the FISA court's decision to launch surveillance operations targeting Page in 2016. I believe it's problematic to have misstatements in FISA applications, particularly if they are material, and to the extent that is a misstatement, it's not one I would consider acceptable. Another official references the now infamous FBI debriefings of Christopher Steele and claims the intel community never undertook the process known as full verification, but used his reporting anyway. There's also mention of Steele's subsource, who we learn was himself under investigation by the FBI. Democrats are pushing back hard. Senator Dianne Feinstein saying the transcripts released today are valuable for one reason. They confirm that the FBI's Crossfire hurricane investigation into Russian election interference and Trump campaign ties to Russia was entirely justified. But as President Trump leaves office, his supporters say this is further proof of his mistreatment, something he's complained of all along.
I have done more than any president in history in the first 3.5 years, and I've done it suffering through investigations where people have been, General Flynn, where people have been so unfairly treated.
The Durham investigation, a separate Justice Department probe into this very same issue, is continuing. Former Attorney General Bill Barr named John Durham special counsel back in the fall with the expectation he'd be allowed to complete his work in the Biden administration. So far, no word yet from the Biden team on what their plans are. In Washington, Jillian Turner, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, a music teacher from Virginia is among the National Guardsmen called up to protect the Capitol for Wednesday's inauguration. More on how this teacher is pulling double duty to help protect and serve and teach coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Your Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. It's been an overcast sky and has kept those temperatures in the upper 30s for most of us. Just a little bit cooler at this hour than it was yesterday. About 3 degrees cooler in Elmira, 6 in Watkins Glen, Bath around 6 degrees cooler as well. We're going to see those temperatures take a plunge as we move into the middle of the week. Tomorrow it is definitely going to be cold as we start off the day. Temperature readings in the 20s, and we only warm up to around 30 degrees by 8 o'clock. There is the possibility of a few snow showers, and that's going to be the case throughout the day on Tuesday, off and on snow, and we have more snow chances for the upcoming days as well. You might even need the snow boots as you head out the door. For tomorrow, we're going to start off with temperature readings again in the 20s. By the afternoon, it's going to be back into the 30s. However, we're going to see a few snow showers across our area as a low pressure system moves through the region. So let's take a look at our future radar for this evening. There will be a little bit of snow from Ithaca and points northward, but it looks like at around 11 o'clock, Bath, Corning, Elmira, we're going to see a little bit drier conditions and then a few more flurries coming in by early in the morning hours. By 7 o'clock, again, it looks like it's going to be pretty dry. However, there's going to be a lot of clouds that will be hanging out just because of the snow showers that are moving through the region. And then as we make our way through the rest of Tuesday, it looks like off and on snow will be possible in the morning into the afternoon as well. And then on Wednesday, it looks like we are going to see a little bit more snow in the overnight at around midnight on Wednesday. It looks like some snow stretching from Hornell all the way to Ithaca, just a line of snow showers that will continue to progress to the south, and then more snow possible early in the morning hours. So our chances of snow will be ongoing for the next few days. However, the good news is it's not going to be quite as cold as we move into your Thursday. In fact, with maybe just some peaks of sunshine, we are going to manage to get up a little bit warmer as we head toward the end of the week. And then we have another system that will come through that will cause those temperatures to plunge again. But here's a look at your forecast. Tonight, lows will be around 25 degrees in Corning, 28 degrees in Elmira. It will be cloudy. We do have the possibility of snow showers, and that will be off and on during the day tomorrow. Highs will be barely above freezing. 34 degrees in Corning, Elmira around 35, right at freezing at 32 degrees in Perkinsville. So here's a look at your extended forecast. A very cold forecast, that is 28 degrees on Wednesday, 37 though on Thursday. So we do warm up into the upper 30s by the end of the week out ahead of another cold front. Once that cold front pushes in, it's going to drag much colder air in, so we plunge back down to well below freezing through the weekend and into early next week.
A spike in COVID-19 cases across the U.S. has led to a shortage in convalescent plasma. That is blood plasma taken from people who have recovered from COVID-19. It has antibodies that can help those who are sick from the virus. Mandy Gaither has one survivor's plea for donations in today's Health Minute.
I knew something was wrong.
For this mother of four and paramedic, it started with a small cough, then fever and body aches. But when Amanda Solt struggled to breathe at the end of June, she knew it was time to go to the hospital.
I had the feeling of impending doom. That's the best way I can describe it.
After days of further decline, Solt was moved to the ICU. That's where this picture was taken.
The nurse, she came in and she said, "I'm going to get your phone. We're going to take a selfie." And she says, "We're going to document this," because she said, "This is going to save your life." And it did. It really, really did.
Part of Solt's treatment was convalescent plasma.
It gave me the strength to fight it.
With COVID-19 cases spiking across the country, the American Red Cross says this plasma is in short supply.
COVID-19 plasma donors are still needed now to ensure patients continue to have access to all treatment options, including convalescent plasma, to help the patients beat the virus.
After 3 weeks and 2 days in a Georgia hospital, Solt went home a survivor.
Amazing feeling. Amazing. To get a second chance at life, that's exactly what I got.
A music teacher from Virginia is among the National Guardsmen called up to protect the Capitol for Wednesday's inauguration. But because his students are learning remotely, he is still able to teach his classes from his Humvee. Caroline Patricus has more on the teacher who is pulling double duty.
Dr. Jake Kohut is on the front lines of protecting the United States Capitol. He's part of the National Guard, which arrived on Wednesday.
It's certainly interesting to feel like you're a part of history.
But this Fairfax County teacher says it's just business as usual.
I mean, it's an honor to be doing the work and to be a part of this. And, this is, as I said, what we train for. And, it's an honor to defend the Constitution and all those good ideals.
And in between guard shifts at the Capitol, Dr. Kohut says he jumps online to teach his students band lessons. This photo shows him teaching class in his uniform.
I try to actually give an explanation ahead of time of just explaining, what's going on and to make sure they're not worried about us or me or anything like that.
But the humble teacher shrugged off being called a hero. He says he takes after his mother, who was also a music teacher.
And then secondly to my wife, who is just awesome taking care of our 3-year-old son. His birthday's on Sunday. I hope I get to see him.
In a historic year for politics, the country's youngest elected official took office this past week in Kentucky. A 17-year-old high school student was sworn in as Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor. Shelby Lofton reports on what inspired him to seek public office at such a young age.
Many ask themselves what they've accomplished in lockdown. A Scott County teenager became an elected official and a record holder.
I'm now becoming the youngest elected official in the United States, which is really cool.
Landon Stadnick earned his spot on Scott County's Conservation District Board after running twice. He said it feels surreal for his position to become official.
We signed our oaths of office where we swore to uphold the Constitution and the laws.
He's less than a week into his political career and has already faced pushback from the public for his age and experience level. He says he's the youngest in his office by a decade or so.
But I talked with the chairman and a lot of the other members. They told me that they had a big learning curve too.
The resilient teen says he wants to use his platform to encourage his peers.
My message to youth would be just create the world that you want to live in.
While Stadnick works on getting resources to farmers who have struggled during the pandemic, he sees it as an opportunity to switch up the political narrative.
When I was 8 years old, I saw politics through rose-colored glasses. I thought people were doing, or these politicians are doing what was best for them, what's best for the people. So as my generation progresses to be able to step into these roles, to sort of return back to what my 8-year-old self saw, the utopian idea of politics, instead of this dystopian world that we've fallen into now.
Thousands of Amazon warehouse workers are voting on whether to unionize. It's happening at the e-commerce giant's warehouse in Alabama, just outside Birmingham. About 6,000 full-time, part-time, and seasonal workers will be allowed to cast mail-in ballots starting February 8th. If they vote yes, the warehouse would become Amazon's first in the U.S. to have a unionized workforce. The effort comes as the retailer has come under fire by some workers for not employing enough safety protocols during the pandemic. More than 760,000 pounds of Hot Pockets have been recalled. There are concerns they could contain pieces of glass and hard plastic. Parent company Nestle Prepared Foods said it received complaints about contaminated materials being inside the frozen sandwiches. The U.S. Department of Agriculture says products produced and shipped to stores nationwide in November are part of the recall. There has been one report of an oral injury after someone ate one of the hot pepperoni pockets. That's according to the USDA. All right, how about a big dose of sweetness for your day with a look at the newest, cutest baby? Reed Binion has the story in today's Take a Look at This.
Cuteness alert! Check out this adorable newborn Francois leaf monkey. These endangered species are native to China and Vietnam, but this little girl was born at the Philadelphia Zoo. At first, the mother, Mei Mei, wasn't paying much attention to her baby. Apparently, that can be common among first-time moms in some animal species. So zoo staff took care of the little one until mom was ready and named her Quibe, which means precious in Vietnamese. Little Teddy Wallace is just 3.5 years old and has been through a lot. He has a condition called arthrogryposis, which makes it difficult to use his arms and legs. But thanks to the Challenged Athletes Foundation, he was gifted this off-road wheelchair, one of the first of its kind. And Teddy now gets to play in the outdoor snow just like the other kids. And some parents will do anything for their fur babies. And this couple from Maine is no different. They adopted a pair of ducks, and as cute as they are, one of them has a couple of disabilities. Rye has wry neck, which makes it difficult for him to hold up his own head. He's also overweight, which stresses his legs, so he loses balance when he walks. So the couple rigged together a dog harness and a chicken wheelchair, yes, that's a thing, to create this apparatus, which the couple says has actually been working to build the little guy's strength.
They're my babies. I couldn't imagine my life without them.
So take a look at this. I'm Reed Binion.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. It's a fine day to revisit the 100-acre wood. That's because it is National Winnie the Pooh Day today. You can celebrate by wearing a red t-shirt, enjoying some honey like the character, and introducing a child in your life to the character through one of the many books or movies. You can post to social media with the hashtag Winnie the Pooh Day. Some fun facts. Author A.A. Milne released the first book of Winnie the Pooh stories in 1926. And January 18th is Milne's birthday, which is why it was chosen as Winnie the Pooh Day. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great night.